Earl hadn't caught a damn thing all morning. He watched his line dip into the glassy surface of Lake Morrison, the red and white bobber perfectly still in the dawn light. The silence felt wrong. No birds, no insects, not even a breeze to ripple the water. Perfect fishing weather, he muttered to himself, but the words felt hollow. After 30 years of fishing these waters, something about today made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. The fish finder chirped. Earl glanced at the display and frowned. The depth reading flickered between numbers that couldn't be right: 320 feet, 452 feet, 607 feet. He'd helped survey this lake back in '92. Deepest point was 80 feet, maybe 85 in the spring. Must be malfunctioning, like everything else in his life lately. The divorce papers sat unsigned in his truck's glove compartment, right next to his phone. Earl had left it there deliberately. Today was about him, the water, and blessed silence. First vacation in years, and he'd chosen to spend it alone on the lake. Some vacation. The bobber twitched. Earl leaned forward, his calloused hands tightening on the rod. Another twitch, more deliberate this time, not the usual quick strikes of the largemouth bass he typically caught here. This was different, like whatever was down there was testing the line. The bite, when it came, nearly yanked the rod from his hands. Earl braced himself, muscle memory kicking in as he fought to control the drag. But something was wrong. The pull wasn't erratic like a fighting fish. It was steady, methodical, almost intelligent. The line went slack. When he reeled it in, the hook was bent completely straight, as if something had carefully reshaped it. Earl remembered the old-timer at the bait shop that morning, how his weathered face had tightened when Earl mentioned fishing the deep end. "Lake's different lately," the man had said, then refused to elaborate. Shadows moved beneath the boat, too large and too angular to be fish. When the motor wouldn't start, Earl told himself not to panic. But then he noticed the ripples, perfect concentric circles forming around his boat, as if something was circling beneath the surface, as if something was getting closer. The first bump against the hull made him jump. It came again, harder, from directly beneath his feet. Earl gripped the gunwale, knuckles white, as he peered into the water. The surface was like dark glass now, reflecting nothing but his own terrified face. Then the water began to move. Not like waves or current, it moved wrong, in ways that made his eyes hurt and his stomach lurch. Earl recoiled as something broke the surface beside the boat, something his mind refused to fully comprehend. He reached for the oar, but the water was already rushing in through seams that had been solid minutes before. Earl opened his mouth to scream, but no sound came out. The last thing he saw was the water rising around him, and in its surface, just for a moment, a reflection of no. His mind couldn't hold on to what he saw there. The lake swallowed his scream. 3 days later, they found Earl's boat drifting in the shallow end of Lake Morrison. The local police ruled it a drowning, though they never found his body. They didn't know what to make of the hook found embedded in the bow, the same hook Earl had lost that morning, now bent into a perfect circle like a wedding ring, still bearing traces of something that the forensics lab couldn't identify.